love, unity, civilization, and total chaos.
Yeah. Do we have all the dogs positioned? Are the perimeter lights on? We have all the security cams going, right? Everything's secure.
What are you talking about?
We're totally secure in the studio. No intruders tonight, right?
Oh yeah, not that crazy lady that came back.
No. That's enough of a reference there.
Oh, okay.
We don't know who's listening or who's watching, but we're glad you're watching. This is dvtv Live. We are live on the 9th of November. 2017. My name is Richard Speziale.
I'm Jeannie.
There's Jeannie. And this is the post-election show.
Well, this year was pretty uneventful.
For New York. For New York, yeah.
Oh.
But for the rest of the country, it was pretty... I have a list here.
As far as Virginia goes, that was really monumental. But yes, let me know.
Well, this election, 2 new Democratic governors,
including Chris Christie out there.
Chris Christie's gone. Well, he was term limited anyway, so we knew he was going.
Anyway.
15%. Let's see if we can sink below 15%
approval rate
before he gets sworn in. The next guy gets sworn in January. I think it's in January in Jersey. I'm pretty sure it is. It might be New Year's Day for all I know.
Yeah.
2 black lieutenant governors.
Yay.
2 transgender officials. Now there was all this stuff about. This is the first transgender person elected to a state legislature, Danica Rome. Well, technically, it's not. There was a lady in Massachusetts in the 1990s who was elected who was transgender. However, she wasn't out at the time. It wasn't publicly known. And after it became known, then she didn't win the next election. But somebody told me that she was a right-wing nut anyway. So she has the distinction of being the very first, but she kept it under
very
wraps.
Quiet, like
She didn't tell anybody, so nobody knew when they first voted for her. But Danica Rome in Virginia, she defeated the guy who wrote the bathroom law in Virginia, the guy who called himself the homophobe in chief. And from the national coverage and from the worldwide coverage, this was on the BBC and everything, you would think that was the issue. But no, Ms. Rome focused in, laser focused on local issues. She was going to fix the schools. She's going to fix the roads. That wasn't an issue, and she got voted in by a big majority and defeated this guy. This guy had been for like 15 terms. He'd been like 20-something
lame
years.
duck, and he was just slacking. It's like Rangel. Rangel's like, by the time his end of his term, he was not really doing much and losing his marbles.
He was in his 80s, but
True.
No, you don't know that he was losing his marbles, do you?
No. But I'm just guessing like that's probably like perception.
Yeah, it's perception. And now where Trump, he lost his marbles a long time ago.
He forgets to sign bills. Like Pence has to be like.
I heard one of our crew people told me that he didn't shake the President Xi's hand today. She put out his hand and he kind of walked away, which was, I got to watch
That's
that
so
clip.
Funny.
But it was a monumental election in other ways, and very glad this happened. And today, just today, developments in the next big election, Democrats versus Republicans. See, the whole thing is this is the first election that happened since Trump was elected, since last year. And, overwhelming Republican majority in the Senate and the House, wondering what would happen to the Democrats. Well, the Democrats did really well thanks to the suburbs of Virginia. Now, the next election is the one to replace now Attorney General Jeff Sessions. He was the senator from Alabama.
And this is like a special election.
A special election because, they didn't have one scheduled.
That's so weird that you wouldn't schedule that kind of election on election day. That's kind of weird.
Well, this would come up, if Sessions was still in, it wouldn't come up till next year. So that's why it's a special election.
Sitting in a seat now? A deputy?
I think the lieutenant governor.
Oh, okay. Oh, he was governor of Alabama.
Yeah, right.
Okay, gotcha.
Right. No, I'm sorry. I don't know who's sitting in his seat. Somebody, he wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know who's sitting in his seat right now. However, it's.
He used to be senator, I forgot.
Right,
yeah.
yeah.
It's not governor, yeah.
So this seat is open. Roy Moore is running. You might remember Roy Moore from. He was removed twice as a judge, former judge, removed twice. Once for refusing to remove a 10 Commandments monument that he put in the state capitol. Okay, against, he was ordered by a higher court to remove this monument. He didn't.
You just get it done.
Later on, somebody took their pickup truck and rammed in and destroyed this 10 Commandment monument. But Roy Moore, you would know, because he has said that he said he believes parts of the country are under Sharia law, which is absolutely not true. We have nothing near that.
This isn't Saudi Arabia.
This isn't Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
No. There's no parts of the United States that are under Sharia law.
Maybe Utah, you can kind of claim that, but that's about it.
No. Nowhere is under Sharia law. Muslims don't come here to live under Sharia law.
No, I'm just saying, under religious law in general.
Yeah.
Maybe in Utah, there's a little bit of that.
We're supposed to have separation of church and state, but the Christians would be happy. A lot of Christians would be very happy to take over.
Oh, and Christians, there is no separation of church and state in Utah.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Okay, yeah. I don't. To tell you the truth, I don't know that much about Utah.
That's what I'm saying.
Have I ever been to Utah? Yeah,
no.
I was in a stopover in Salt Lake City.
Oh,
very dramatic country around Salt Lake City, but that was my only impression. And there's casinos there.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
And I had to spend the day there because of a plane connection or something like that. So anyway, back to Roy Moore. He hasn't. Now, people have asked him about his views about homosexuals because he appears on a radio show regularly. Hosted by a guy who thinks homosexuals should be put to death. Roy Moore has not said either way. He has very cagily avoided that question. We can assume, yes, he agrees with the guy, the pastor who wants the death penalty for being gay. Okay? So this guy, Roy Moore, would be one of the most extreme senators, certainly the most extreme senator in the country if elected in December.
But my question is, are the people of Alabama that dumb?
We don't know. Let's see.
I hope they're not like.
Let's see. They elected him in the primary, and Trump went for his opponent.
Yeah.
Trump was campaigning for his opponent.
But my guess is that in the Republican primary, the voter turnout was high, or was it low?
I couldn't tell you. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. It might have been. It might have been pretty strong because, as I said, it was an important thing.
Yeah.
Trump was pushing this other guy. The other guy didn't make it. That was the first knockdown of the. Trump was considered kind of invincible, and it turns out he's not. It turns out that the takeaway from this election is only Trump can sell Trumpism. Other people are pushing Trumpism, but it takes Trump. It takes a Trump, yeah. So anyway, what happened today on the Roy Moore front? Allegations of sexual misconduct. Somebody who was 16 years, 14 years old.
She was 14 at the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And this came out in the Washington Post. Now they're putting they even before the Washington Post story came out, his people got a story to Breitbart to say, this is fake news. This is the Democrats being desperate and circulating these stories. But the Washington Post, as most stories are in that newspaper, well researched, has many people backing it up. And 4 women have come forward and accused this guy of sexually harassing them when they were underage.
And 14,
when they were underage,
14.
And she was 14, yeah. She didn't tell, first of all, she didn't tell her mother for 10 years because she was ashamed. Okay? Now, this lady, who is now much older, this happened when Roy Moore was 39 years old, I think, or 34 years old, and she was 14. So there was enough of an age difference there. But she didn't tell her mother for a full year. And she wanted to come forward when Roy Moore started making started making noise and started making progress to become an elected official. However, she didn't, because 3 divorces, and she didn't want her kids to be involved.
Yeah.
And this is why most sexual assault victims, something like 75%, nobody knows the exact number, but something like 75% of sexual assault victims do not report it, never report it.
And I think now it's really important to report it immediately after the fact.
It's a lot more.
It's a lot more
it's a lot more credible,
and a lot more credible.
Right.
When you repeat, these things it becomes like 30, 40 years after the fact.
It's really hard to prove.
Yeah, you can't. It's just
It's really hard to prove.
It's he said, she said at this point. You know what I mean? I'm not saying it's he, but you get what I'm trying to say.
It's time passes, and any police official will tell you that the best time to report a crime is immediately after. But there's so many reasons. There's so many reasons why
emotional reasons.
It doesn't happen, emotional and otherwise. The Manhattan DA, Cyrus Vance, who also got reelected. I don't think anybody was really running against him. There was a write-in campaign.
There was a bunch of judges in my voting card.
There's always vote,
and they were unopposed.
Yeah, unopposed because it's a straight Democratic ticket.
Yeah.
Well, that's New York. But getting back to Cyrus Vance, who actually can't say neglected, but he did not go forward with the charge against Harvey Weinstein with this Italian actress, because there was some stuff in her past that might make the case a little questionable and make it easier for Weinstein's lawyers to knock it down.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with making any accusation against a powerful person like Harvey Weinstein or like Donald Trump.
Hello?
Hey, we have a phone call. Hello, call. You're live on dvtv. Thank you for calling. What's up?
Yes. Hi, Rich, and hi, Jeannie. Great program. I love the conversation. I love the topics that are brought up. Hi. So my question is that, this recent trip that Trump is on, the past has shown us that he was really not quite an advocate of China, and now all of a sudden he's so friendly.
The word is kowtow.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's like Pidgin or Chinese origin, but he's kowtow. Now that he's over there, you see, that's the thing. Trump is a pussy. When he's on the campaign trail, he'll talk tough. Yeah, China, it's all China's fault.
Back 10 times harder.
They're manipulating currency and everything. He gets over there in China and he says, well, I don't blame China. I respect China for doing that.
What are you going to do in a country with 1 billion people?
Right, yeah.
But
I mean, it shows a lot about the person.
Yeah.
And his comments regarding, how he said that, he really respects the country that takes advantage of another country to benefit their own. I thought that was a combination of an insult and a compliment at the same time. And I don't know if the Chinese knew what to do with that comment.
It would be funny. Somebody was publishing the translate when he was in South Korea. Somebody was publishing the translation of the Korean translation. So actually, what Trump said translated into Korean, translated back into English, and noting the differences. I wonder how that came out to the Chinese officials and their simultaneous translation. But yeah, it's the very definition of a pussy is somebody who backs down under pressure. And here he is in front of China, backing down and said, no, I respect you for doing that. All during the campaign trail, he was accusing them of manipulating currency, doing all kinds of horrible things.
Or taking the trade away.
Taking the trade away, yeah. He's taking it's their fault. It's those Chinese people. So, typical Trump.
There must be some kind of benefit for him here. I'm not sure what it really is, but it must be some kind of benefit because, I mean, why would he back down from that whole thing that he's doing unless he saw a new light?
The last thing that Trump hears is what he goes with, and he's famous for doing this. The last person to tell him how things are, because Trump doesn't really think too much for himself. He listens to Fox and Friends. He listens to his advisors. The last person to whisper in his ear before he goes out and makes the speech, that's the person who influences him the most.
Yeah. Sad.
So typical
Super
Trump,
sad.
and I don't think the Chinese or any of the world leaders take him at all seriously. They know what they're dealing with.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think for a while since Reagan, really, they've had a lot of foreign leaders have not had a full respect for the American president or for American leaders in general. It started to go down with Reagan because we elected an actor. It was even less with Bush because it could be seen that Bush was like starting wars just on whims and on to settle old scores, and so typical Trump. And what do you expect? And let's see what he says. Let's see what stupid he says when he goes to Vietnam. Apparently, as Stephen Colbert says, his heel spurs have healed.
Well, thank you so much, Rich and Jeannie. It's a great program.
Thanks.
I hope to see you again, and thank you so much.
Okay, thank you for calling. The number is 212-757-1393. You can follow us on Twitter.
dvtv.
At dvtv Live, yes.
Rich, can we talk about the local election?
Talk about the local election,
okay,
yes.
So New York, like California, has propositions.
Right, yeah.
So I left my election guide here and I didn't read it really.
Okay.
So when I voted, I was just kind of circling and stuff. But when I was like, oh, okay, this year I'm going to turn the ballot over because last year I kind of forgot to do that.
Right.
And I turned the ballot over and there were all these propositions. And
there's 3 of them, not all of them.
Yeah, 3. This
not
is
like
in California. There's
there
not
was
17.
8 or 12. There's 17. Yes.
So when I turned it over, it said, should there be a convention to discuss the Constitution or something like that?
Constitutional Convention, the CON-CON, yes.
Yeah, and they, I think, only put this on every 20 years or something like that?
Yes, there's an opportunity to do it every 20 years. Yes.
So I asked a poll worker, do they mean the state constitution or the national constitution? And she wasn't sure. Someone else said, I think it's the national So I'm like, okay, so who's in this convention?
Lesson 1: don't leave it up to the poll workers to inform you. Be informed before you walk in there, because the poll workers are there to earn their whatever it is.
200, for the one day.
$80, $200, whatever it is they earn. Yes.
But it's just. But I was like looking at that.
And it's not. It depends on them. It's not their job to inform you.
I was confused. I was like thinking, which constitution? It was so vague.
Right.
The way they worded it, it's like what constitution and who is going to be in this convention and what kind of convention?
Right.
It was just like a generic ask. It's like, should we hold a convention to discuss the right to bear arms or free speech? It's like asking that.
Well,
you know what I mean? It's just.
If it makes you feel any
better. Do you
better,
like ice cream?
Yes.
Yes or no? I mean, it's just so generic.
If it makes you feel any better, I did read up on the Constitutional Convention before I cast my vote.
Okay.
And I was still confused, and I still had the same kind of questions, okay? I did vote it down on just because I had read that Donna Lieberman was against it, the ACLU, and the unions were against it. Apparently, the last Constitutional Convention to be held in New York was 1937. Unions were on the rise, and the fear is that corporate interests and other interests could take away a lot of the union rights and other things. But the Constitutional Convention appears to be a real crapshoot. In 2 years, they will hold a constitutional convention if it was voted. And then they get delegates to represent all the local municipalities, and then they take a vote to change the Constitution.
Okay.
And the New York State Constitution is a lot longer than
the normal one.
Well, than the national one.
Hello.
And I'm hearing voices, so we must have a phone call. Hello, caller, you're live on dvtv.
Hello.
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 Hi there.
Hi, my name is Sarah Dunhill.
Hi, Sarah.
And I have a question regarding a response that President Trump said in regard to the 26 people who were shot in the church. Right. The gentleman was had mental problems. His response was, if the person who shot him didn't have a gun, then 100 more people would have gotten shot. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, he said it's a mental health problem.
Yeah.
Every country in the world has mental health problems. It's not exclusive to the United States.
Exactly.
But every country in the world does not have the same kind of mass shootings. Only the United States does. It's been said by a lot of Republicans, well, this can't be prevented, says the only country where it happens, okay? It's a gun problem. There's too many guns out there, and the guns are too efficient. They're killing machines. He had an AR-15, an AR-type rifle. I don't know if it was an AR-15 because I'm not a gun nut, but it was a semi-automatic rifle. He shot 26 people.
Including his own daughter.
Including his own daughter, yeah. No, that was the daughter of the preacher.
Oh, that was his own. Okay, never mind.
I think he killed his mother-in-law or his grandmother-in-law.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Lovely.
Including a young child, 17 months old. He killed them in under a minute. Under a minute, he just walked through and killed all these people in a church. Now, all the people who are saying, well, our thoughts and prayers should go out to them. They need your prayers. No, they don't. They were in a fucking church praying at the time. Prayers are not the answer. Gun control is the answer. Again, this is the only country in the world.
And in the past, 3 months, or even, 3 months, there's been so many. There's been the people that were gunned down in Tribeca.
Yeah.
I mean, not gunned down, run down.
Well, that's not that's an interesting corollary.
But I'm just saying, there's all these people that are just, by random acts of violence in Las Vegas and this. It's I remember when I was a kid, the first mass shooting I saw was Columbine, and I'm like, wow, going to school is dangerous. You know what I mean? So
And now there's people, listen to this caller, there's people actively saying, well, they should give the kids body armor, build it into their backpacks. That's their answer, not gun control, not taking these killing machines, which should be only in the hands of the military. I don't even think the police should have them.
Yeah.
And of course the police chiefs.
Then someone would shoot them in the head.
Yeah, the police chiefs from coast to coast for years and years have been pushing this kind of gun control.
Yeah.
Get rid of the semi-automatic guns, because they know they're outgunned. The police are outgunned. We have this situation in this country. It's the only country in the world that has this. In Australia, they actually went and took away people's guns, and gun deaths went way down. This happened, I think, in '96 after a particularly horrible. And the Australian people decided, okay, we've had enough. And Australia is not a country where people lie back. They have gun lovers there. It's a wild, wide open country, or a lot of the country is. They have a lot of hunters there, and they have a lot of wild animals that they need protection from. But they had some common sense. They banned the automatic and semi-automatic rifles, but we won't do it. We can't talk about it. It's too soon.
Yeah, why don't we just make some more, and we'll have some more Las Vegas parties? You know what I mean? It's just terrible.
There's more firearms than there are people in the United States. There's more than one firearm for every man, woman, child, and infant. And speaking of infants, this guy should never have gotten a gun in the first place under Texas law, because he spent a year
in a psychiatric institution.
Well, no, he escaped. He spent a year in the military brig for abusing his wife and stomping on the head of his infant stepson. He broke the skull of his infant stepson. And this guy,
got
after
a gun
that,
somehow.
went out and got a gun because the Air Force did not report it. I'm sorry, go ahead, caller.
The president never acknowledged any of those other issues.
No, he doesn't.
His statement.
And you know why?
Because he's a white guy.
Because he's a white guy, yes, thank you.
Well,
if it was a Muslim, he'd be all over it.
Oh,
That's
like,
the thing.
yeah, he was tweeting all that stuff about the guy that ran down the people in the car.
Exactly,
in Tribeca.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, blah, 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 the death penalty. Like, how come he's not writing the death penalty about people in Texas?
Because it's a white guy. White
and
guys
it's just ridiculous.
apparently
he deserves a death penalty the most.
The white guys are apparently not terrorists. It's only people with brown skin or of Muslim descent who count as terrorists. The white guys, well, they're something else. They're gun nuts. This double standard is sickening, and coming from the top, it's even more sickening.
Well, on that note, thanks for asking my question, answering my question. The only thing I have to say is if we ever get some sense of control over guns, I would just have to say the life you saved might be mine.
Yes.
You guys have a great night.
All right,
Thank you so much for calling,
Bye.
Sarah.
Bye.
Yeah, it's really sad, and nobody is. There's no movement in Congress. Congress is afraid of the NRA because the NRA.
So much power.
And I've been saying this for years. I'm not the only one. Many of us say this. Congress is corrupt because of corporate money, because of the donations. If they took away all of the support and they just gave everybody a set amount of money to run for office and it wasn't tied to any corporation or special interests, we'd have a much different government and much more honest government. In other places in the world, this doesn't happen. It's illegal to give Congress people or people in the legislature or the parliament, it's illegal to give them bribes, trips, campaign contributions. There's a reason for that. Here, it's all legal, and this problem will not be solved while there is so much money involved with campaigns.
Especially the NRA.
Especially the NRA, yes.
They have so much money.
They have so much money, they have so much power, they have so much support. Speaking of campaign, I did want to bring up, in our last seconds, Mila Kunis. We spoke many months ago about there's a write-in campaign for people who are donating to Planned Parenthood are donating under Mike Pence's name. There's a boycott campaign out because Mila Kunis is pushing this, and she also represents Jim Beam.
Whiskey,
so I think I know what we're going to be drinking after the show tonight. And on that note, we have 5 seconds. I want to thank you all for watching.
Bye.
Follow us on Twitter. This is Rich Speziale. That's Jeannie. Good night. Good news.